I'm here with James Timpson, Deputy Fund Manager at Courtiers, for a lowdown on what's been happening in the markets throughout July. James, hi. Tell us, what have you been seeing?
Well, after the doom and gloom of last month's update, where I mentioned that global markets have had their worst start to the year since 1970, you'll be pleased to hear that they bounced back a bit in July. So the MSCI World Index, which tracks global equities, that returned nearly 8% during the month. So a much more positive month for equities. And the rally has been led by the US. So in particular, two of the larger tech stocks, Apple and Amazon, they posted better than expected earnings last week. So that really boosted the S&P 500 index, which tracks US stocks, and that index rose more than 9% during the month. But most equity markets were up quite a lot last month, one exception being China, which was actually down around 9%. And that's due to fears of increased economic slowdown in China. It's had to endure further lockdowns due to COVID-19 outbreaks. And because of those, actually, the price of oil has also come down a bit. So for most of this year, the price of oil has been rising due to the Russia-Ukraine conflict. But because of slowdowns in China, which is the second biggest consumer of oil, the price of oil has actually dipped below $100 per barrel a couple of times in the last month or so. So it's been a bit of a strange month, actually. We've seen a bit of a reversal of trends that we've seen throughout the year. Firstly, with equity markets recovering a bit, but also with bond markets recovering as well, despite interest rate rises, and also oil price just falling back a bit. So we've seen some trends just reverse slightly in the last month.
Yeah, you mentioned Apple, Amazon, the big tech stocks. Now, I know Courtiers focuses a lot on diversification, and I can't imagine that you'll be looking at jumping into those straight ahead as they bounce back. But can you see any reason why they might have bounced back over the last month?
Well, given that inflation is so high at the moment, you'd expect consumer spending just to be down a bit, but due to the cost of living crisis and prices being so high at the moment. So it's possible that perhaps consumer expenditure maybe hasn't fallen as much as predicted, which would explain why earnings are slightly higher than expected. And as to your point on diversification, yes, the S&P 500 has received a nice boost this month because of how those stocks have done. We still have exposure to the S&P 500, but as we mentioned a couple of times before, our US exposure is now diversified between that and a value-orientated index called the Russell 1000 Value Index. And if you look at the year to date, because those growth stocks in the S&P 500 had such a bad start to the year, the value index is still outperforming the S&P 500 for the year to date. So it's a good example of how having diversification between two different types of markets can really benefit you.
Thanks, James. Now, as we head quickly through the year, in August now, December, as always, will bring our Courtiers client seminars, where I know you'll be giving us an update on global performance throughout the whole year and also the performance of the Courtiers funds. But before that, I wondered, can you give us a glimpse of how performance has been throughout 2022 so far for the Courtiers funds?
Yes, I'm sure we'll have plenty to talk about in December, so lots to look forward to then. And as for performance for the year so far, we've been happy with it. One of the things that's really helped us has been having short duration, which is low interest rate risk. Despite a slight bounce back in the last few weeks, bond markets are still quite heavily down for the year to date. Also, having minimal exposure to those big tech stocks, which had such a bad start to the year, has also really helped us. But of course, when markets are this volatile, the best thing you can do is ensure that you have a really diversified portfolio, and that's has been beneficial to us and will hopefully remain beneficial for the rest of the year.
James, thank you very much as always, and look forward to catching up with you next month. To our viewers, if you have any questions, please do let us know and we'll make sure they get to the right people. Thank you.